All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to just kind of get started. A couple people might trickle in and out, but 4 o'clock, don't want to waste any more of your time. One of the big things that we wanted to make sure that we mentioned again today was that the new benchmark system starts tomorrow. This cuts down on the number of errors that designers are allowed to have before loss of a bonus. One thing that we've done to kind of make it a little bit more clear what we're looking for is Emma's done a lot of work of updating the style guide. This is kind of a work in progress, but it's definitely, it will be up on the designer website. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. It'll be up on the designer website. If not by the end of the day today, certainly by tomorrow when the benchmarks start. Please just reach out to any of us, any of the hub managers, if you have any questions about anything. If something the editor wants on the budget doesn't match what we have on the style guide, chances are we'll say go with the style guide, but never hurts just to double check with us. Another thing that we've had come up a couple times is editors are requesting that we run the normal calendar script on sports stuff instead of the Metro calendar. Just make sure that if it's a list of sporting events, that we want to use the Metro calendar for sports stuff. And then we also do have that sports on TV one also. So make sure that you're using those correctly and not our normal calendar script when it comes to sports stuff. A couple of things from the pod that we wanted to make sure we went over again as we're kind of getting more into that. We just want to remind everybody to please use the threads. It'll help us track down any issues. It'll help us tag a pod editor if they've either said they would help you and haven't, or haven't gotten back to you. Helps us keep track of kind of everything in one nice chunk instead of having to navigate through all the messages. Make sure that you're always tagging either the person that you're talking to, whether it be another designer, hub manager, or pod editor. That way that person will know right away. So just make sure that you're doing that. A couple things outside the pod channels. We want to make sure that we're still communicating with the layout center in the layout channel and communicating with the copy desk if you need to have a page pulled back, if anything like that. Same thing with shared pages. You can still communicate if in the shared pages channel if you have a question, even if you happen to be working with that person on the pod side. Just kind of keep those things a little bit separate for now. We're working with the pod editors to make sure that they have the modulus content listed on the budget. For some reason, if you see an email saying that there are obits for, let's say, the forum, but it's not listed on there, please make sure to reach out to somebody so that we can make sure that those get in there. It's not necessarily the designer's fault if it's not listed and they don't get in, but being one company, we really don't want to be refunding that money. So that's kind of a big thing for us right now. If you see something that gets lost in translation from the pod, we want to make sure that we're handling that stuff now. They are working to get that stuff added to all the templates. So even if there are, let's say, X's at the end of it, it still says modulus on there for us to either reach out to the pod editor or go try to find the email to see if there are any for that page. One thing, kind of switching gears a little bit, I've noticed that I'm not sure if it's necessarily on the skeletons or if they get moved around as they get on the page, but we've had a couple of times where little bits of the red position numbers are ending up like just inside the margin. One of the requests I have is just once you know the positions, either move that stuff way away from the margins or simply erase the little red boxes. It hasn't caused a major issue yet, but I've had to recall a couple pages just to make sure that those things don't show up. So that's a pretty quick and easy thing. Once you know the positions, either just move them far off the page, or if you're comfortable getting rid of them, feel free to do that. I have a couple quick things that I'm going to share my screen to go over. Just 1 second. So one of the things we wanted to go over is this photo placement of this photo down here. We understand that the designer is using it to break up the gray at the bottom of the page. This isn't something that we're going to make a big stink about, but we're not really big fans of the design style. If you need it to, break up the gray on the bottom of the page, it's something that we can understand. But let's say this was only a half page, with one photo and the photos at the bottom right. That's not really something that we're looking for. If you can bring the photos up, that's something that we would prefer. So just wanted to quickly go over that. And then a couple of the newer hires, we haven't necessarily gone over how to look up stuff in the archives. So I'm going to do that pretty quick. So when I reference the archives, I'm not necessarily saying that I want you to go and page track and look at the last day's, pages for the scoreboard or anything like that. I am much more of a fan of going to the particular site. So here I'm looking at the Echo Press and then their e-paper. Just a quick second while everything loads. All right, so if anybody doesn't know exactly how this works, over here on the right, you can go to their archives. So this way you can pick all the dates, things like that, just making sure that you know what date you're looking for. And then any of these will open up. You can tell kind of this one in particular, which one is a print day and which one where they are getting our shared queue pages. One thing I also wanted to go over was quickly how to kind of narrow down your search a little bit. There's been a couple of times where I've run into things where, particularly for Alex, people are looking, for example, for their thumbs up, thumbs down on their editorial page, but they don't run it, every Thursday or in any sort of rhythm for us to go double check. So one thing I wanted to show is how to kind of narrow down that search and make it a little bit easier for you to find that stuff within our archive. So if you were to just do like thumbs up, we're looking for the thumbs up, thumbs down. If you were to just do it like that and hit all editions, you'll notice that a lot of these aren't necessarily opinion pages where you would find that. This is really looking for anything that has the word up in it, anything that has the word thumb. So you'll notice that that's a lot of stuff, right? So one thing I'm going to do, this trick also works with Google if you're ever interested. I'm just going to put quote marks around it. That way we basically are saying that we want those two words to be back to back. So if you search it, you'll see that the search filters out a lot of the stuff we don't want. These are all examples of the thumbs up, thumbs down that the designer happened to be looking for. So that's a real quick way to find that stuff. I use it a lot to see if there are, if we have used a column sig for a certain person in the past. A lot of times we'll have something from an editor that will say use column sig, but they haven't provided a mug and we don't have one in the library. So I try to figure out kind of where the discrepancy happened. This is a way for you to check on that too, where it would just kind of come up with wherever that person's name was used in the paper before. Sometimes that will be a column sig, sometimes it won't be, just an easier way to check. All right, I'm going to unshare. All right, that was all that I had to go over. Like I said, with the benchmarks, we have a lot of updates to the style guide. I'm going to give it over to Emma so she can talk about the work that she's done for us on that part.
Unmute myself helps. Just sharing my screen here so you guys can see. So what we did with the style guide is that we moved it into Google Drive, which allows us to be able to update on the fly, adjust something if needed. If something needs clarification, we can do that. If something is missing or, can be added right there. And it's live and it goes out and everyone has access to it, which is another big point, is that this is going to be saved in a location where not only we can reference it, which it really does cater to us and the work that we do every day with our pages, but it's also something that everyone in the company can now have access to and kind of understand why, why we're asking questions the way we do, or why we're asking for specific things, that they're able to come in here and actually see what we're working with. Part of this, a lot of it, I was inspired by the way the Rochester style book is, which I know probably the first initial reaction to that is, oh my God, it's so freaking long and I don't want to have to read all that. Why would you set it up this way? On paper, I can see that it's really overwhelming, but with ours being in Google, it's so amazing that they have the bookmark option. You can format it. So like all these hyperlinks here that are blue, I've gone through and I've done these first. Obviously, this is not complete in terms of, obviously what you see is not linked here. But here in this portion of the index, I went through and I got through some new things that will be helpful to a new designer, is what I tried to think from that point of view while putting this together. Someone that never had worked on newspapers before. So it's all really clear. There's clear instruction and there's going to be plenty of examples. But for reasons of the benchmark switch in October, I went through and did all the design specifics for us. So that is completed. I just need to add photo examples for each. And the bookmark option, like I said, that makes it so great is instead of using the outline along the left, which you surely can, you can scroll and access items that way. You can also click the hyperlink here and it's going to take you down to where that is inside the style guide. So if you need to look up information on date lines, you can click the bookmark and it's going to take you right down to date lines. And it's going to break down the style of it, what font we're using, what point set its sizes it's at, how it's used, why it's used, and it's going to also have its imagery showing examples of it. I'm going to finish up one thing on here, and then I'm going to get it updated on our designer website. So then that link will be different. So you guys will all have access to it. Does anyone have any questions about this? I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think you may have more questions after you look over it. Well, if someone's typing something, that's just fine. Just want to point out that obviously there's a lot of things that we expect you guys to know, and a lot of things are said in our meetings and sent out via email. And over time, it just became a lot to have to update an InDesign file and then update a PDF and then update a link. So having it live in Google for us is going to make it a lot, definitely streamline the process in terms of keeping it up to date. Having examples for you at the drop of a hat, that it's all ready to go for you. Yeah, so no one has any questions. I think, did we do the poll already? Sorry, I was late. I don't know if that happened already.
Alicia's going to jump in after you, Emma, and she's going to say a couple things about the pod and go over the poll. So Alicia, whenever you're ready.
All you, Alicia.
Yay, all me. So the poll is launched. Please vote. Just wondering all of your opinions on how the pod is going for you. We hit 3 weeks yesterday, and so just wanted to see how you're feeling about better, same, worse. If there's anything specific that you have issues with the pod or stuff you want to talk about, please make sure you reach out either to your team leader or to me. There's absolutely still stuff to adjust, and we're working on it. And I want to make sure that we deal with all of those things as they come up. But I should get this embroidered on a pillow because I feel like I say it every meeting, but we can't fix problems we don't know about. Make sure you're telling us when there's issues. Appreciate it. Okay, I just showed the poll to you. The wonderful news is that a decent margin of you feel like it's getting better. I'm super happy to hear that. We've got a couple of changes coming in the next week that I think are going to make a significant difference. We've got more people trained now from the copy desk on the pod things. So we are going to have more people who can jump in who are working on things so things won't get as backlogged. I also have been having conversations with all of the editors whose properties have been rolled into the pod already to make some changes in their deadlines, streamline their deadlines, and also to make sure that we're doing a better job of staggering our deadlines. Right now we have a lot of deadlines that are the same. And so it's like, okay, at 5 o'clock, and everybody has to have all their news budgeted. And it's difficult, of course, to budget the news sections for 8 papers, at the same time. So we're changing some of those deadlines so that we can have a better workflow so that you all are not waiting in the way that you have often been having to wait recently. Working through all of that stuff. We're working on the budget templates, streamlining some things, making those easier to use. Again, if you have any feedback on those, let us know. The goal of those is to make them as simple as possible, so it has just the information you need, and not the rainbow that you may see on Wilmer's old budget, all that kind of stuff. I feel like things are going better, so I'm glad to see that such a large number of you do as well. That's phenomenal. Whoever said it's getting worse, if you feel comfortable, please send me a note and let me know what's going on that makes you feel that way, because I really want to make sure that we're addressing that. Just in general, I want to thank all of you. I know that we have had some struggles. We've had some screw ups. I know I personally had some screw ups. I was working Saturday. Emily and Jenny are, gosh, just saints, because I kept crossing things off on their version of the budget instead of the other budget. And then there was like, hey, all the content for this page is crossed off. Is that? And I'm like, nope, sorry, that's me. I think I did that to them like 4 or 5 different times, and they were very polite. I just appreciate how polite, understanding, and patient all of you have been with the pod editors as we're working through this. I feel confident in the way we're going forward. We've got a lot of good changes already made and more coming. But I know that the past few weeks have not been the easiest few weeks of all of your careers. And I just want to tell you that I really appreciate all of you dealing with things, doing the best that you can. I know that on the days when the pod has been behind, I'm sure every one of you has been personally screwed on at least one day by the pod. And I appreciate that. I haven't seen any obscenities hurled at anybody, or, I didn't hear that anybody threw their computer. So thank you. I appreciate you all. I hope you know that just in general, but especially the past few weeks as we make sure this system works and figure it out, you all have been just phenomenal. And I truly can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that. And I know that I speak on behalf of the other members of the pod for that too. Thank you all for being fabulous. Please let me know, or let your team leader know, what issues you're seeing so that we can get those addressed. I want to make sure that this achieves its goal of making all of your lives easier and allowing you to spend some more time on doing great design, and less time on back and forth with editors and waiting for content and all that stuff. So thank you all. I love you.
I think that's it. If no one else has any questions, or any managers have anything they want to go over, I think we are all done. So thanks, everybody. Cool. Bye, Alicia.